So just like every other YouTuber who tells you build out of PVC, this is a terrible idea. I tried it and it sucks. You can see how bent this is. Granted, this is 2 years old at this point. This would have been its 3rd season. I'm gonna build something out of wood. I'm gonna show you how to actually frame something properly to put on your boat that's gonna last forever. You will have to disassemble it and reassemble it, and it'll take a little bit more time, but it's gonna be way stronger than this.
Okay, so to do this project, you need about 10 8-foot 2x4s, a 20 by 30 foot heavy duty tarp, some decking screws, and a little bit of line.
Bent.
On your 8-foot 2x4s, figure out which ones are the least bent and put those in a pile.
Bent.
Then mark out 4 feet of your 8-foot, thus half, on each one.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
For my 20-foot boat, I figured I needed about 24 feet on my top beam. With 8-foot 2x4s, that's 3 2x4s to go the full distance, and therefore I needed 6 2x4s to do the whole thing. Start assembling the 2x4s together by putting each 2x4 4 feet off center from the last 2x4. Once you have 2 boards attached to the original board, flip the whole thing over and continue the process until you have 5 boards assembled. Then cut the last board in half and add it to the opposing ends. Public service announcement. I should be wearing safety glasses, and you should too.
There we go. All right, you're gonna help me carry this. Yep.
This?
All right, yeah, turn it, twist it so it doesn't bend. Turn it, yeah, like that. See how it's stronger that way?
Yeah.
There you go. And stop. Bring it forward. It's easier on your shoulder, dude. Slow, 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 slow.
Next, you're gonna have to make a platform to hold up your center beam while you build the rest of the structure.
Oh no! Disaster has struck. Disaster has struck.
Really, Dad?
Yep.
Setting up the scaffolding to hold your beam in place until you build the support is the most difficult part of this process, especially if you're doing this by yourself.
Oh no! I knocked over a camera.
Fortunately, you won't have to do this step next year because the support will already be built.
I'm gonna rescue the camera. You guys okay? Didn't mean to knock you over.
I found that this X system worked pretty well, but you have to drill into it to actually get it to stay in place. And you need at least 1 vertical beam, and that will help hold it upright so it doesn't bend one way or the other.
All right, so we got these ones here. They go up into there and they support the stern. And I also had to put one in here so that the X would stop sliding around, and I did the same up front.
Once you get your center beam up, you can actually start building the rest of the structure around it. You do not need to measure. This is a cool trick you can use.
Put the board in, right? Take the board out, put the board in, like that. So I can do the same thing on this side. I gotta get in there. I'll go down on the bottom, which you can't see from there. So that's how much we're going to drop it by, and it'll just fall right into place.
You'll follow this process for your beam supports and tarp supports. I number each support and put the same number on the center beam where it went as to not mix them up.
Top. And there it is, number 4. Cut, down, and nice and flush at the bottom. Works perfectly. Okay, time for a tour. I know you're gonna tell me this is way overbuilt, and it is, but it's amazing. All right, so here we go. At the back, we have a whole section that goes over the top of the motor. Then we have these 2 pieces that come down and over the edge to get the tarp to go over the edge. Those aren't actually supports. This is our actual support setup. Now I know what you're gonna say, this beam that goes down to the floor should also be tucked in here, but the problem is that this is slightly wider, and so it doesn't actually fit in there the way it's set up.
All right, we move forward. I have this triangle bracing in here, and it actually makes it so that the whole thing cannot, like I'm trying as hard as I can. It's not going back and forth at all. If you look at it, when I push, it literally, I'm moving, it doesn't move. All right, so that's super helpful. Then we have another set that comes down and over to guide the tarp. And up in the front, we have the same setup. It's not easy to get around this. As we have in the back, just like this, where it comes over. And then we have that brace piece in the middle. And then we have one more vertical piece off of the bow. Getting the tarp on is pretty easy. I started in the stern and then worked my way up to the bow and then just kind of went back and forth until it was fairly even on both sides.
On another piece of PVC. All right, it's time for the rope. One thing I will say is it's a pain in the butt to work with really long pieces of this. So you only want to get maybe like 30, 40 feet. Do that first and then do the next part. So I'm going to cut this right here. Helps to burn the end so that way it doesn't fray. So you can see right now that this thing's pretty, you know, it's just going to blow around, right? Start here. I'm going to pull all this under like this, right? You just treat it like you're in grandma's sewing circle. So back and forth. I've gone basically the distance that I can go with this because we cut the rope short. So so now I'm just going to make sure this one is nice and taut. I kind of did like a little pull through where I pulled on one side, pulled on the other, kind of tightened everything up. And so I'm going to tie this one off here, and then we'll start another one on the next hole, starting on the other side. Of course, if you are going to go underneath the trailer, make sure you bring extra line with you, because you don't want to have to come back out. If you tell yourself you're like John McClane crawling through the air ducts, it seems way cooler, but this is actually pretty terrible. But it's done. Now I gotta get out of here. We've come to the end of the rope. Or I've come to the end of my rope, I don't know which. So I usually have on hand a couple logs. And what I'll do is I'll set them up on here like this. And like this. And that way you don't cut off access to being able to get in here in the winter to do whatever work you gotta do. But it still keeps everything, you can see, nice and taut. All right, so here's a couple things I'm gonna change. First thing I should change is to get a shorter ladder. All right, so to soften this, we're going to put just an old shirt on here, and that's gonna prevent the rubbing. So we're just gonna staple this on. The second thing that I wanna change, we're up inside the boat, and this has been driving me crazy. If I take this board right here, and I just drill it into this right here, then what will happen is when I take it apart, this can all just remain one piece. The reason I'm not doing it right now is because this is the floor here, and then there's a step up right here. So in order to do this, I gotta shorten that board. So that's gonna wait till the end of the season, and then I'll make that adjustment. And then the third thing is, as you can see, everything is just sort of on the ground. I'm gonna put some carpet or something underneath of these so they don't rub for next year. You also want to make sure you evenly distribute the tarp on both sides so that it comes down and meets at the V rather than on the side like this, as a little, and I do mean a little bit of water got in here, kind of stretched it out, but you can see that's not a lot at all. But you don't want it going up on one side. All right, let me know your thoughts. If you like hunting, fishing, outdoors, lighting fires, building shelters, that's what my channel is. Subscribe if you're into that stuff. See you next time.